What's going on, guys? Rockley AC here, back again with another deck profile. Today we have the Hercule meme troll deck. If you guys like Super RNG, if you like to gamble, if you like fun decks and maybe piss off your opponent, this is definitely the deck for you. It is a crazy leader that has a very unique ability that most, if not any, leader has. We'll just go straight and jump into it. The front leader of this green promo Hercule ability is activate battle once per turn. If it's your turn, you look at the top two cards from the top of your deck. If there are any battle cards, you may choose to combo with them, then place the remaining cards in your drop area if they aren't battle cards or whatever. When your life is 4 or less, you may draw 2 cards and flip this over. He becomes surprisingly a Super Saiyan, quote unquote, Saiyan delusional Hercule. Take quick note, he is a 1k in the front and a 5k in the back, which could be problematic against some matchups. Activate main once per turn. Place all the cards from your hand in the drop area. It gains 50k power for the duration of the turn. And if you place 5 or more cards in the drop area with a skill, this card gains triple strike for the duration of the turn. Super powerful. Are we going to use that effect? Maybe. When this card attacks, draw a card. So, the reason why we are playing this deck is to abuse the front leader's ability, activate battle once per turn to combo the top 2 cards of your deck. So this deck was probably about a year old. Mostly is going to be green and red because of its synergy with the cards that I choose and the cards that were successful back in the day. And we'll go straight to explaining why. First off, good overall themes of this deck. It's very random. It's really fun. It does have a realistic win con, which is kind of hard to stop depending on if your opponent main boards certain cards. And it could be a semi-aggro deck against other slower decks. Now, there are bad matchups. There are bad things. Again, super RNG. If your opponent has a bunch of negates in their hand, prevents your opponent's ability, or prevents your leader ability to go off in a sense. And it's hard to defend the leader's front side. But we're going to have cards. We'll just go straight into the card choices for the deck. So we'll be going for the negate of choice over here. We have 4 for the greater good. What I liked about this card is that you can activate this card from the drop zone. So if you're either using Hercule's ability to mill off the top, or you have cards that put this card in your drop zone, or if you're using it for one turn and negate from your hand, and then the next turn you could activate the ability from the drop, it's very, very useful. It's super powerful, and sometimes your opponent forgets that you have that negate. If they don't check that, don't necessarily rely on your opponent forgetting, but in a sense, it can come up. Next, you're running 4 Topo Righteous Aid. The point of this deck is to stay on the front side of your leader as much as possible so you can take advantage of the ability. Topo really steps a lot of people dead in the tracks, especially if you play this on turn 2 or 3. You have a body on the board which you can now swing with and activate Hercule's ability to trigger the top 2 cards to potentially combo. Next are the super combos. I did a 2-2 split Nappa and Paragus. Couple reasons why I run Nappa. Nappa is a multicolor super combo, so it helps with some of your rival cards in this deck, which is great. Also, you want to, depending on the deck, strategically use Nappa from your hand appropriately. So when your opponent's swinging for 10k, as long as they have a leader that doesn't pump them up to 5k, they're most likely not going to be that aggressive and combo stuff out of their hand. So they're just going to be swinging 10k to your Hercule's 1k. Well, Nappa out of your hand becomes a 10k, and Hercule's a 1k, so that becomes 11k, and he gets a stick on the board for another turn. That is basically using this card efficiently in a way so that you can minimize taking life from your opponent. Yeah, you're losing a card of your hand, but the point of this deck is to use Hercule's front ability as much as possible. Nappa minimizes that. As long as your opponent doesn't get that 5k boost, you could put him in play, blah, blah, blah. Next is Paragus. He's really good in the mid to late games when you're searching for your win condition, which is going to be Kaio-Ken. So it'll help you minimize and get to your cards a little bit quicker if you need to. It's also a better card later in the game when you want to draw more and cycle through your deck. Next are the pseudo super combos that really synergizes with your leader ability. These are the 4 cells and 4 Son Goku super combos. You're swinging and then you're comboing the top 2 cards. It's very highly probable that you're going to hit one of these cards, so you could have some draw power. On top of that, increasing your power to whatever battle cards you put it on, or your leader swing. So it's very powerful. It's free. You don't have to cost this. And mid to later game, depending on the state of the game, you could even use these from your hand as a nice, simple pseudo combo. You're not necessarily using your energy unless it's for like a very aggressive play, which you'll see in a little bit, or if it's your ability to defend your life with your negates and those super pseudo combos. Next are 3 Popo Guardians Aid. This card mills the top 3 cards of your deck when it's comboed or attacks. So you're most likely going to use this with the leader ability. When you combo, you mill the top 3. Very plain and simple. You're using this so that you could have drop zone required material for your Kaio-Ken. Kaio-Ken requires 20 red-green battle cards in your drop zone, so you need to be able to reach that number. And hitting at least 2 of those topos, you're pretty much guaranteed to have Kaio-Ken on turn 5. Next are your main 1-drops that you want to open up with. Either one of these is fine. Your Gohan or your Trunks crit. These are your simple 15k crit cards. The reason why you play this is because on turn 1, you could easily, for 1 energy, cast these guys, and then for free, off the top of your Hercule ability, be able to get a chance to play Furthering Destruction Champa, basically for free. With Hercules, you're milling 2. If you're able to get a life, 15k crit, combo 2 cards, 1 could be a double strike Champa, which puts them at 25k critical, and then maybe another battle card that's maybe another 5k, or even better, maybe one of those draw cards, super pseudo combos. You're getting so much plus just for 1 energy. It's very possible, and it happens pretty much every single game. You're going to want to open up with one of these crit cards, and it's very possible to do this even on turn 2. Even if you don't have the Champa that could trigger off of Hercule's ability, even if it's in your hand, it's still a great aggressive play against those decks that want to just sit back and do nothing. Next are my tech cards. I'm going to have to apologize again. I don't have as many Draft Box 5 cards, and I'm not going to shell out $40 in this time of crisis for a Ribrianne card that could potentially be dropped with the second release of the Draft Box wave. But my apologies again for that, for those who don't like seeing proxies. But anyways, 2 Ribriannes. She helps fix your hands depending on your state of the game. If you don't have anything else to play with your energy, she's a good card to get some type of card advantage. You could mill this off with your Hercule combo, or even just defending your life and then drawing to turn 2, 3, 4, 5 whenever you feel like it's necessary. So she's a good card just to have as a backup. Next is 2 surprise attack Frieza. There are some cards in here that KO your opponent's battle cards. So once that comes in play, Frieza goes in there. You already saw the crit Trunks, the crit Gohan. You want to be able to capitalize on the crit effects because your leader effect is not going to really do much, and your other battle cards is really just there to get the Hercule leader ability off. But you'd rather swing with your surprise attack Frieza so that you could finish off and give your opponent less of a chance to get that hand size against your finisher. Next is the Arrival card, Gogeta, Resonant Explosion. This card is a 1 red Arrival for red and green, and when it comes in play, it KOs a 4 cost or less, which triggers a Frieza, and it could get rid of some of those annoying blockers. Still a very good card. It's 20k double strike, and with the leader effect, it's easy to get the green and red card because you're most likely going to be able to hit with a good chance a red or green battle card from the top of your deck. If not, you'll have some cards in your hand if you really need to Arrival this in. So very good defensively, very good offensively, really good card. Another tech card is 3 Krillin Steadfast Defender and 2 Final Showdown Son Goku. So this card is a very fun combo. I like this even in other red-green builds. What's nice about Krillin Steadfast Defender is that he is a 4 cost, but he becomes a 2 cost if I have 10 or more cards in my drop zone, sparking 10. You draw 2 and you pitch 1 card when you play this. So it helps filter your deck, helps get a card in your drop zone for Kaio-Ken, and has a potential for comboing into this card, which is Son Gohan, Son Goku, Final Showdown. So you see over here, he's a double striker. When a Krillin with an entrance cost of 4 or more in the battle area is KO'd by your opponent, if your leader card is green or black, you could play this card and it kills a card ignoring barrier for that turn. So Krillin, you block, KO, in comes Son Goku, KO that barrier, any card really, any entrance cost, and he comes in play 25k double striker. And then the finisher for this deck, Kaio-Ken. Awesome, awesome. One of my favorite finishers in the game. This card has been very, very powerful in its given sets, especially when we saw like Purunga Shenron Ramp. This card was crazy, just being able to drop multiples per turn with the ability. For those who are unfamiliar with this card, because we haven't seen this in a while, and at least any type of deck, has Deflect, 7 cost. But if there are 20 or more red or green cards in your drop area, you reduce energy cost of this card in your hand by 2, so you could play him for 5. When your life reaches 1 for the duration of that turn, this card gains triple strike, dual attack, and cannot be KO'd by your opponent's skills. So they could try negging him, but depending on your life, you could really, really be strong according to the next effect. Activate main, choose 1 card from your life and add it to your hand. Your opponent then reveals their hand and you get to choose 1 card, place it in the drop area, and this gains 25k for the duration of the turn. So depending on how much life you defend yourself, whether that's you have 2 cards in life, 3, 4, as long as you take a life and it reaches 1, he triggers all of that dual attack, triple strike. He cannot be KO'd, so and then he gains 25k power. This is your main finisher, and even if they champa the trickster, you could still use the ability. The only downside really is if they do like a frost deadly poison or negate the text effect or something like that. That is detrimental. But if you are able to take a life, get rid of their negates, or even plan for the next attack, if you feel like you can't necessarily beat them that turn, and you do have some type of energy or defense, maybe a couple super combos in your hand, and you're just counting cards just to take away their kill turn and kill them on the crackback, you also have possibilities for that too as well. So Kaio-Ken is a very awesome finisher, and worst comes to worst, if they do happen to Crusher Ball this, or not really Crusher Ball, but like, again, Champa the Trickster or something like that, and put him in rest mode where he can't attack, then you do have your leader ability where you could take those cards, put them in your drop zone, and swing for a triple attack, 50k, maybe possibly win through there. Alright, so this is the layout of the deck. So basically there is some type of strategy, believe it or not. In this type of deck, you want to mull for your Trunks or your Gohan so that you could have your opening attacks with those cards, potentially getting a double strike. And you also want to use your energy and your cards efficiently. I know that sounds kind of weird in this kind of deck where there's a lot of RNG, but you want to know when to negate. You want to make sure you have open energy so that you could defend certain cards. Know your matchups, know what you could take and what not to take, using those pseudo super combos, using Nappa sparingly, like what I said before. If your opponent doesn't have the 5k boost, make sure you have that Nappa in hand if you're able to. Combo that card, put it in play so that you could save it for another turn. And basically you want to stay on your front side as much as possible so you can maximize on that RNG ability. So you could fill your drop zone and use that for Kaio-Ken. But basically that is the shell of the deck. It's a super fun, trolly deck. If you like these really weird RNG decks that could really piss your opponent off and have fun at the same time, I definitely recommend it. I think it's fun. I think you guys will enjoy it. So see you guys on the next episode. Peace out.